So I have here a book that is an altered book. It has been slightly altered and it has been collecting dust on a shelf for a while. The book itself is The Little Prince, which is one of my favorites, and you'd be surprised to see that I have destroyed this book, but with good reason. So, about, oh gosh, well, I can tell you. St. Patrick's Day a year ago, so a year and a half ago, I lost my beautiful dog Stella, who I had for 17 years. She was my miracle dog. I was just really, really sad when she left. It was the first time in 17 years of life that I didn't have a dog. I am a single human. I live alone. It was very lonely. It was very sad. It was very hard. So one of the things I was doing at that time was I was reading the book The Artist's Way with some other arty friends, and we decided to do what the author says to do, which is, among other things, among lots of things she suggests doing, is to take yourself on an artist date once a week. And so I started doing that, and I decided when I was going to do those artist dates that I wanted to document them in some way, and I was bored and lonely, so I had lots of time to take myself on artist dates and kind of heal from my dog passing. Pre-Lola, obviously, I lasted 2 months, and then Lola came into my life. So anyhow, this is an altered book, so all you do is you take an existing book, with permission. Hopefully you own it and it's not somebody else's book, or you can go to a secondhand store and get a used book. But I use this book because I love it. And so basically what you do is you paint, you draw, you glue little things in. I need to do something with this page, obviously. But basically I started, look, 3/12/23. That's before Stella left. Anyhow, this was my first artist date. These are all little pictures that I printed with this lovely little device. It's a Canon Ivy. It takes these little packs of paper, and instead of having ink in the printer, the ink is somehow in the paper. And so what happens is, let's find a good example. It has a sticker on the back. You just print it, it pops right out of there, and then you peel the sticker and you can glue it in. So that's what these are, little pictures. On my first artist date, I went to a place called Old Araby Lighthouse Bookstore Record Store. I mean, who doesn't love that? There it is right there. I bought this amazing book called The Sound of Building Coffins, which is better, in my opinion, than Confederacy of Dunces, if anyone knows anything about fantastic literature of New Orleans. If you haven't read it, it's great if you live here, and even if you don't. This is inside a beautiful bar in Araby that I love, called P. Rose Whiskey Bayou. Took myself there afterward to read my book. Okay, so this is when Stella passed. I had gotten new paint, this pearlescent paint. I got flowers for her. It was St. Joseph's Day, which is when all the Mardi Gras Indians dress up. Oh gosh, it was so sad. Yeah, this is 2 days after she passed. I bought a new toy, and it was a toy for the new baby. It ended up being Lola's first toy before Lola existed. So here's the book, and I did want to keep parts of the book because I do love this so much. So I'm going to read it super fast. The part that I love, love, love. I will scan some parts. Once when I was 6, I saw a magnificent picture in a book about the jungle called True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing a wild beast. Here is a copy of the picture. In the book it said, boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing. Afterward, they are no longer able to move, and they sleep during the 6 months of their digestion. In those days, I thought a lot about jungle adventures and eventually managed to make my first drawing using a colored pencil. My drawing number 1 looked like this. I showed the grown-ups my masterpiece, and I asked them if my drawing scared them. They answered, "Why be scared of a hat?" My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Then I drew the inside of the boa constrictor so the grown-ups could understand. They always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups advised me to put away my drawings of boa constrictors outside or inside and apply myself instead to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. That is why I abandoned at the age of 6 a magnificent career as an artist. Does this resonate with any of you out there? This is why I love this book. So you can imagine my surprise when I was awakened at daybreak by a funny little voice saying, "Please, draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep. Anyhow, you can get the book and read it yourself. But basically what happens with an altered book, at least the way I like to do it, is I like to keep some text. I like to glue things in. This is obviously an image from the book. So what I did, one of my artist dates, I went to City Park, which has beautiful, gigantic live oak trees. If you've never been, please come. This was my terrible attempt at an oak tree. Oh, wow. This is like full circle, isn't it? Remember I told you before how hard oak trees are with the Spanish moss hanging down and all of that? There you have it. Anyhow, so I keep some words, I glue some things in, I write some words, and there you have it. So this is the sheep that he drew. I kept some words. There was my tiny stuffed dog. I swear to y'all, I bought a little stuffed dog and I hugged that thing for 2 months until Lola came. And it's funny because Lola is white with spots. One spot on her eye. Anyhow, where else did I go? We don't need to look through this whole thing, but here it is. Oh, here was another artist date. A little flower I found when I was there. Some words that I kept. Here is another one. Oh, one of my favorites. Middle grade reader, authors, had a new book out. Oh, here's my backyard that I cleaned up. Some more flowers. That was a hibiscus. Oh, look, I forgot all about that. So I had this beautiful hibiscus in this spot, and it died because of frost, and I planted a new one for Stella when she left, and I pulled the fur from her old brush and put it in the hole. That thing is gigantic, and it has seen another frost since then and lost some of itself, but now it's gigantic and healthy. Anyhow, that's where I sort of ended with it, and then I guess I got Lola and I got busy, and then I don't know. So basically the whole rest of this book is the book, and it needs some love. And so the thing is, I just went on this epic road trip, which I really hope is the beginning of lots of epic road trips, perhaps extended road trips, I don't know. Anyhow, my goal now is to keep this like a scrapbook of my adventures. So what I have here are some photos that I already printed. Should have maybe got these out beforehand. So the first place I went was a little place called Clarksdale, Mississippi. Clarksdale is not a very exciting place whatsoever, but it is on the Blues Highway, which is Highway 61, and it has a lot of amazing musicians and a lot of really cool music, which I live in New Orleans. I have all the cool music I want, but I do love the blues, and it was a good getaway, and it's cooler there and less humid. So what I want to put in here is a postcard that has all of their festivals they have each year. I do have a little picture of the shack that we stayed in. This is the Shack Up Inn, which is a super fabulous place. There's a bunch of old sharecropper shacks that they rescued from being torn down and moved them there and updated them with new appliances and Wi-Fi and all of that stuff. So that's our shack that we stayed in. 2 dogs, my friend Alan, Miss Lola. We had a great time. Also, one of the big significant things about the area where we went is Robert Johnson. If you don't know Robert Johnson, he is an amazing blues singer. Was clearly he's not here anymore. If you ever heard the story of the Crossroads, there was this myth about him that he sold his soul to the devil at the Crossroads. There's a song about it that he wrote. This is a record that I got while I was there, but I also watched a documentary about him, and I started reading a book about him, and we went to the Blues Museum, which has tons of history and amazing things about all the original Delta blues people from way back. So I am going to figure out where I want to put all of these things, and I'm going to sketch out some words that I want to keep, and I'm going to paint it and make a little collage here about Clarksdale. So typically how I start out is I find my handy dandy skinny Sharpie marker, and I go and I put a little box around the words I want to keep. So let's do sleep in the secrecy. And I do also like wake up. I think I love you must tend your planet. All right, is there anything else on here? I do like the word roots because, you know, the roots of rock and roll is all in the blues, right? All right, I think that might be it. So now I can figure out where these things fit, and also, do I want to keep the little prints or not? Probably not, but I do love these little things growing. Oh, in fact, hold the phone. In fact, I wish I had saved them, but they were kind of falling apart. I have some flowers. So I did a lame little sketch. I shouldn't say lame. I did a little sketch while I was there on the porch in Clarksdale of that little shack. And here is my sketch that I did. They had these beautiful, beautiful, I don't even know if they were, little weeds growing everywhere, of these little kind of black-eyed Susan looking flowers, but much smaller. Don't really know what they are, but these remind me of them, and how lovely that that's there. So I think I don't want the prints, but I do want the stars and the moon. So so I had the idea we should play the record while we glue it down. This is the Crossroads song. Anyhow, great song, great musician. Honestly, if that song didn't exist, a lot of my favorite rock and roll would not exist. And it's a good legend about the Crossroads, you know? You gotta read it for yourself and see it for yourself. Decide if you think he really sold his soul to the devil, if you even believe in such a thing. I think it's a fantastic story. Alright, so I quick grabbed some colors. I grabbed an orange that's not too orangey because I wanted to match this and that. I got some yellow that I thought would match the flowers that I saw there. I wanted some blue sky. I know that sky is very cloudy gray, but there were lots of blue skies there. And I also grabbed some green to match. There was like green farmland all around us. And then I did also grab just some white because I do want to write. I do want to write some things in here about the trip, and there is some white space here, but not a lot. So I'm thinking of putting some white up here, and then we'll figure it out. All right, friends, I think it's done. Working remotely allows me the opportunity to travel. I took advantage and got out of town on a long 4th of July adventure. We purposely went away from loud, annoying fireworks and went to the Mississippi Delta, home of the blues and the infamous Crossroads. Clarksdale, Mississippi. There you have it. Maybe I should put some captions on here. I think there's going to be another installment because we also drove around South Louisiana on the way home, took the long way, stayed in the Atchafalaya Basin for a little bit, and I have some pictures of that and some souvenirs from that. But I ran out of paper for my tiny little printer, and so I'm waiting for that to show up. Once it shows up, I'll print the rest of the pictures and we can do another one because I'm taming my muse over here. That's what I do. Well, hello, I'm back here with my altered book project with the second leg of my trip that I just did, and I'm getting ready to do that, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But I actually got out my original altered book that I did a long time ago. Good golly. Let me think when this was. 2014 is when I graduated from my master's program in counseling and expressive arts therapy, which is when I did this originally. This book is originally Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung, who is one of my favorite of all of the philosophers and psychological analyzers that have existed. I actually painted the letters here are the color of the actual book cover, and I painted it all black. There was already a labyrinth on there. I added this weird a journey. I don't know. Taking flight. I had a whole thing going on. Anyhow, I did want to show you this is one of my favorite parts. So I cut a hole in here. I know it's cheesy. It's very cheesy. I cut a hole in there and there's like little like charms. I don't know. Call me crazy. It was very expressive back in the day. It did have this beautiful bow that I apparently wrote words on. I don't even know what it says. That was originally glued in here, but it unglued itself. Anyhow, old altered book, current altered book. Again, this is a book called The Little Prince. Last page I did is this one right here. When we went to Clarksdale. The new page is going to be from my trip to Avery Island on the way back home to New Orleans. Couldn't come directly back home. So I have some photos. I have this cool little map that they gave us that folds out, that shows the Tabasco experience that we did not do. We did eat at that little restaurant, but the cool part of the map is upside down, is this part, which shows like the whole place where you can drive around and all the beautiful things you see there. Anyhow, that's my little map. And so I'm going to glue these things in. I did already go and find some words I wanted. The only thing that I liked here, travel someday and pleasure of sunsets. Sometimes I don't find anything I'm interested in keeping, and then I'll just paint right over those words. So I do also have this cool little parking pass they gave me that has a beautiful picture on the other side, Avery Island. So we need to get all of these things in there. This was a beautiful place from the bird part. These you can't really tell here. But those are like egrets and spoonbills and all kinds of crazy cool birds. This is a Spanish moss hanging down. So many live oak trees. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Lots of water all the way around, of course. Ponds inside have alligators in them. Can't see any gators, but they're in there. And of course my sweet babies who went along for the ride. That's Mudbug and Lola, and that's a gigantic watermelon we got in Clarksdale that she's resting her chin on. So somehow I have to get all of this in here. This map, I think I already decided I want it to go, oh really? Oh, this way. Yes. I'm going to glue it in this way so that the map comes out the way that I want it. Like this. This thing hanging out there. It's kind of hanging out. The thing I like that you might have noticed with my other book is when you get things that are more three-dimensional, how cool is that? And then the book doesn't close all the way, but you know what? It's an altered book. It's not a regular book, it's an altered book. Look how cool that is. So I am going to decide on some colors right now. Alright, so I went and got some colors. You might be surprised by the colors I chose. I chose a neutral gray. I chose a golden heavy body because sometimes when painting over the words, sometimes I want them to show through and sometimes I don't. So cheaper paint is great, but it tends to be more transparent or translucent so that you can still see the words. I did also get my little pearl white that I love so much. So I'm going to work on those. And the thing is, the reason I chose these colors is because when we were at Avery Island, it was a very overcast, drizzly day. So it wasn't really raining, but it was kind of coming down a little bit. And so there was like this really cool mist. And so I thought, instead of adding more green or something, why don't I just make it similar to what the sky was doing that day. If there are pictures, when there are pictures, sometimes I keep the pictures, sometimes I alter the picture, sometimes I cover it over altogether. So in this case, we are doing a little bit of both. A little covering, a little altering, and a little leaving it alone. Oops, that's more than I wanted there. Actually, it's reminding me of a cloud, and I like it that way. Alright, are we going for perfection here? Nope. We sure are not. Well, alright, I'm calling it done. My sweet travel adventure to the lovely Avery Island. The pleasure of swampland live oaks strung with Spanish moss and sly alligators lurking within. So many birds. Egrets and spoonbills, sweet mudbug and Lola, and a Mississippi grown delicious watermelon. Such a great experience on a gloomy, drizzly day. I've added some stylized clouds to give it a little bit of a vibe. I like the way it matches kind of the original drawing that was there. I don't know if you just heard that, but that was thunder, so it's just fitting that I'm drawing this while it's thundering and raining quite hard outside. Well, thanks for sticking around on my little project. I wonder where I'll go next, or what will end up in my altered book the next time I visit it. Shall we take just a quick look at how this cool map folds out? Dun dun dun. That's pretty amazing. And it's all dry, so we can close it up and wait for another adventure.